Every day, no matter where you are or where you think you live, you look up and you see the sky move. The sun traces an arc across it, the stars rise in the east, wheel overhead, and then disappear in the west. The moon follows its own path, the planets drift slowly against the background of stars, and if you stay up long enough and pay attention, you start to notice patterns, rhythms that repeat with extraordinary precision over days, months, and years. You don't need a theory to observe any of that, you just need to look. But somewhere between that observation and the explanation for it, a set of assumptions gets quietly inserted. A specific size for Earth, perhaps, a specific distance to the Sun, a particular geometry that frames everything you're seeing before you even had a chance to ask whether it independently fits. What if you could remove all that and start again with just the observer? That's the entire foundation of this ether cosmology conceptual model. It's built around a single observer, you, where you're standing, what you can see from there, and the geometry of the sky as it actually appears from your position on Earth. It's something that's easy to forget. Again, every observer on Earth, regardless of where they are, sees exactly half the sky at any given moment. Nobody sees the whole sky. Everyone sees half. A hemisphere of observation that's unique to your position and your time. The sky you see from New York tonight is not the sky you see from Sydney. The sun they're watching set, you're watching rise. The stars visible to you are below their horizon. You each have your own dome of vision, your own apparent sky, and your own personally observable hemisphere. The argument between the models is based around what produces that distinction, right? The globe argues that the hemisphere is created by physical Earth curvature coming up and blocking out that half of the sky. And the argument from the other side, I think, would be that it's an optical convergence of where the sky meets the ground and that humans cannot see forever and over great distances. The natural acuity limit means that you'll eventually be unable to see any further, and the optical convergence of the sky and the ground meet, and that's not due to ground curvature. So, the observer-centric reality is what this model is built on. Ether cosmology here places you at the center of that dome. You choose your coordinates, your latitude, longitude, elevation, get your direction, you field the view, and then you watch the sky respond. It has two distinct layers, and the separation between them matters. First is the optical vault. That's what you see when you actually look up, the apparent position of the celestial objects as they appear to you from your location. The arc that the sun makes as it rises and crosses the sky, the low crescent in the winter, high one in the summer, symmetrical line if you happen to be exactly at the equator, the rotation of the stars around a polar convergence point overhead, the moon's path, the wandering of the planets against the fixed background stars. All of it rendered in a first-person vantage point exactly as any observer at those coordinates would perceive it. Second layer is true positions. You do have to toggle it on, and then you'll see the geographic calculated position, which is in the terrestrial sphere on the graticule, which is the terrestrial equivalent of the celestial sphere. And again, they typically call them ground positions, but it's defined first within the celestial coordinates using right ascension declination and then translated to the appropriate latitude, longitude via the one-for-one relationship of the terrestrial to the celestial spheres we went over put forth by Ptolemy. And this model enveloping that principle, showing you the apparent and then the transcribed calculated geographic. And so it's also the apparent position that the same system every nautical almanac used, every real-world navigation technique, altitude, lines of corrections, lines of position, entirely based on this apparent position. The true position is always the derived layer in abstraction, never the directly measured one. And this model shows you both clearly separated so you can always see exactly which is which. In terms of what you can do with it, you have full control. You can scroll through the time of day, a week, a year. It real time syncs to everything now. It shows every eclipse that's ever happened. You can watch the sun's path. Took any of the demos that shows 24-hour sun and moon analemma demonstrations, observer traveling north and south on the model, moon phases over a month, winter solstice, summer solstice, equinox, daylight, sunset, 24-hour sun, etc., etc. You have control to turn on any of these options, the moon, the sun, specific stars, tracking, satellite tracking, in-star catalogs, multiple astronomical calculation engines, multiple ephemerises, geocentric, heliocentric ephemerises, and it's all at your disposal to turn on and off and see the effect it makes when the data pipeline is reduced to right ascension declination derived in a unit sphere, which amounts to direction and a magnitude. So unit vector on a sphere. And again, all of it, every calculation, every predicted position, every arc, every angle is derived without a single physical unit. No globe radius, no globe parameters, no distance to the sun, no circumference, etc., etc. In fact, no miles, no meters per second. Then it works entirely based on the unit sphere, directions expressed as unit vectors, angles as ratios on a unit circle. The positions of objects in the sky are resolved as pure angular coordinates, azimuth and altitude, which tell you where to look and nothing else. No assumption about how far away what you're looking at is. No assumption about how large anything is, only the direction and the angle. Here's where it gets interesting. When a system strips out every physical constant and reduces itself entirely to directions and proportional relationships, which is what we argue they did with the globe, what you're left isn't less a complete model, and what, in one sense, you're looking at a more honest one. It turns out that the constants you'd be tempted to insert aren't independently measured at all. They're all derived in ratios of each other. Distance to the sun, size of the sun, orbital periods, the gravitational constant. These are not separately confirmed quantities that happen to agree. They're a self-consistent web of ratios that were built to agree, because they was only ever based on real observation, and everything else is what you get when you manipulate the formula to fit it. As we argue all the time, right? Kepler didn't measure the distance to the sun. He established a relationship between period and orbital radius. Bradley didn't need the AU to calculate aberration. The radius term dropped out from his math entirely. You're left with a ratio of velocities expressed with timing. And the system works because relationships and ratios are constant and consistent, not because the absolute values were measured. And this model is showing you exactly that. We don't tell you what the sky is. We don't claim to know the dynamic cause of what moves everything in the universe or what's moving everything in the sky. What we're showing you is what an observer sees, clearly, interactively, foundational layers, and without inserting a single assumption about scale, size, distance. Remove the units, what remains are relationships. Come explore the model for yourself.